everyone, I'm Sina, and in this new episode of Sina Draws, I'm going to review this less known quite practical tool made by Linex from Denmark. It's commercially called Automatic Line Spacer, but we can simply call it hatching ruler. It's simply a transparent 10-inch ruler connected to a handle made of hard plastic on which there is a push button that each time pressed down pulls back the ruler to a specific predetermined amount. This way you can produce evenly spaced lines. A really simple mechanism, isn't it? But with a little bit of innovation and combining it with other tools, you can produce really amazing illustrations. So if you're curious to know how it works and its range of application, stay tuned and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Okay, let's take a quick review of the content of this video. First, we will take a look at the anatomy of the Linex Automatic Line Spacer, or simply hatching ruler. We will discuss different parts and features and functions of it and the applications of them. And you're going to watch the use of those built-in features in time-lapse videos. Then we will move to the next part, which is combining the tool with file liners, technical pens, ballpoint pens, and last but not least, the Graphos. Each of these four art tools will be used in three different hatching styles, which are straight, curved, and cross-hatching. And during the video, whenever needed, I will reiterate practical points, like how to preserve and make your technical pen running, or how to install the nib or ink your Graphos. And also related videos will be linked whenever needed. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. Well, first let's take a look at the anatomy of the Linex Line Spacer or hatching tool. If you take a look at beneath the tool, there are 4 digital pads at 4 corners, which are there to provide a bit of ground clearance, preventing friction between the sliding part and your piece of work. As already mentioned, the ruler is made of transparent plastic and at its peak expands up to 5 cm and is connected to the inner mechanism by a metal rod. There is a push button to engage the mechanism and an adjusting wheel to determine the spacing between lines. At the upper right corner of the body, there is a see-through window with a crosshair in center that provides you an idea of the pace of steps. It has a magnifier glass and a division from 0 to 10 mm. And as you can see, by turning the adjusting wheel leftward, you actually reduce the spacing between each step. There's no actual way of learning how much each turn reduces or increases the spacing, and this can only be learned by experience. And by turning the wheel rightward, you increase the pace of each step. The other mentionable feature of this tool is a built-in protractor which actually shows the angle between the ruler and the horizontal axis. And for example, like this, it's perpendicular to the vertical axis and tangential to horizontal axis. And in this situation, it has -20 degrees with it. Well, it's a built-in feature and you can use it as easy as that. And as for the ruler itself, it's a straight flat one divided up to 24 cm. And there is no replacement with any other shape available. But with a little bit of innovation, you can scotch tape any desired template like this or this one and create beautiful practical textures or shapes. And also you can do the same using French curves like these ones, no matter the shape or curvature. Or even a step further and combine the templates with different types of pens with variety of nib sizes. Just as I'm planning to do next in this video. I have a 3x4 table here with each segment side about 2.5 inch. Each column will be assigned to a different pen and each row to a different technique, to have them all beside each other for better comparison. For first column, I'm going to use the good old rotring fine liners from 0.1 to 0.5. And for the second column, the infamous rotring technical pens. And due to their better quality, I prefer vintage models from 50s or 60s like Variant or VariScript over the newer versions. And although there are some other honorable models available, I prefer to limit this test to only the two above-mentioned models. So rotating variant, varioscript, and rapidograph from point 1 to point 4 for second column. And maybe the strangest pen for this test is assigned to the third column, which is nothing but the old school Big Crystal, which 3 different sizes of it from bold to fine is going to be used in this test. And last but not least, my favorite pen, Pelican Graphos, combined with rotating Graphos nibs, is going to be used in the last column. And it's worth mentioning there is a comprehensive video about this fascinating pen available in my channel, which I put the link up, you can go check it. And now that we have all the pens available, let's dive right into it. I begin with rotating fine liners, and to have a better idea of what I'm about to do, I first divide the screen into this mosaic pattern. Now we start hatching, and you can easily witness how precise the spacing between hatches are. And obviously in the final results there are different parameters involved, like spacing between lines or width of them, or pressure or even angle of your hand. And you can transfer the sense of transition from dark to light or vice versa by keeping one or some of parameters steady and changing others. And the more wisely these parameters are chosen or changed, and the more experienced you're in doing that, the finer that sense of transition is going to turn out. And remember, even the speed of your hand motion has a great impact on the final result. And now you can compare the end result with the simple hand hatching you might already be experienced in it. For the second window, I'm going to illustrate the transition from dark to light. In the first run, I tried doing it by constantly changing the pressure of my hand and simultaneously increasing and then decreasing the spacing between lines. To do this, I first press down and then relieve the pressure as approaching to the center, while simultaneously increasing the spacing between lines, and reversing the procedure as approaching to the edge again. And for the second run, this time I changed the fineness of my pen as well, starting with a broad pen at the edges and constantly changing it to a finer one as approaching to the center, while simultaneously increasing the spacing between lines. And like the previous run, reversing the process as approaching to the other edge. And this is the end result, precise and slick. In the last two steps, we experienced some samples of simple hatching. And now for the final window, it's time to try cross-hatching with fine liners. To keep the matter simple, I stick to only one size of pen and change the angle and the spacing of the hatches to achieve the desired texture. I keep the angle of hatching between minus or plus 10 to 20 degrees. And by doing that, I create these diamond-shaped textures. And to create that wave-like motion, I constantly increase and decrease the spacing between hatches. And you can simply witness how these slight changes in the spacing and angle of the hatches transfer that dizzy and wave-like feel. And if you get away from the screen and look at it from a further distance, the final result is better revealed. And now we can compare all three results side by side. For the next section, I'm going to use various sizes of permanent technical pens. But as their finer nib sizes can be really fragile, let's first talk about how to make them running if not been used for a while. First, spray sanitation alcohol on a piece of cloth or toilet paper. Gently tap the point of the nib on the alcohol to break the seal the dried ink has caused, and simultaneously tap the back of the pen on the desk to release the piston inside. To screw back the barrel and the cap, always bear in mind to hold the pen from the middle section. And for example, never hold the barrel while screwing the cap, cause this will over-tighten the barrel, eventually causing it to crack. Okay, now that they have started running, let's give it a go. For better comparison, I will keep up with the mosaic pattern that was done with the fine liners. Starting with the finer nib sizes, then step by step first increase the spacing between lines, then the nib sizes. Calculated transfer of these two factors will help breaking the monotony while preserving the first essence of the design. As you can vividly witness, permanent technical pens do not respond to your hand pressure and will keep up always producing the same line width. So whenever tapered lines are not needed, these kind of pens are the best option. Their nibs never wear out and their line quality doesn't change due to constant use. And now you can compare the results side by side with the fine liners and decide which one best suits you and best transfers the sense you're aiming for. Now it's time to get a bit more innovative by combining the tool with different French curves and templates. To do that, I first scotch tape a French curve to the ruler. Now I can produce curved hatches instead of straight ones. Now using a circle template, I determine the layout of my design, which is a planet and the moons around it. To hatch the moons at the background, I switch to a more curved French curve. And to render the darkness of the shadows, I go over the dark sides more than once, eliminating the need to change the pen to a bolder one. And to render the lights, I switch to dotted lines at the edges. And to mark the glow around the planet and the moons, I use a bigger circle on the template. And at the background, to transfer the sense of transition from light to dark, I first start with more spaced, finer hatches. Then, simultaneously, with decreasing the spacing between hatches, I increase the pen sizes to produce bolder lines. Now you can witness how easily, with some simple innovations and combining different tools and techniques, you can render more complicated textures and combinations. And here is the final result to compare it. I'm going to use this ellipse template to experience cross-hatching with permanent technical pens. Providing a flat surface beneath the hatching ruler, I have scotch tape another template to it with the same width. This way the hatching ruler will slide on it easier. Now we start doing the first layer of hatching, and then the second layer of hatching with about 10 degrees to the first one. You can do the shadows using the same method, and to make them even darker, different layers of hatching can be laid over each other. This way, you can transfer a complete sense of transition from dark to light or vice versa. This method of hatching inside a template was a complete new experience to me. And I feel quite interesting textures can be done using this method. And now as the result has started revealing itself, you can compare the outcome of curved and straight cross-hatching side by side. After fine liners and technical pens, it's one of the most unusual drawing tools turn, which is nothing but the old school big crystal that I'm going to combine it with this masking tape for a new experience. One of the most unique characteristics of ballpoint pens is that different line variations can be achieved only by changing the pressure of your hand or simply going over the same line over and over. To achieve even more line variations, you can use different ballpoint pen sizes. Using masking technique helps producing sharp edges, and with a little elegance in choosing the spacing between lines, you can ensure those edges meet each other exactly. Just make sure to clean the nib constantly, as the ink has the tendency to gather up there. And here is the final result. We already have the experience of creating light and shadow with the straight hatches. This time I will add glow and reflection using the ballpoint pen. This should resemble the surface of a metal rod or cylinder. For the first section, I'm going to use only one pen size, creating the sense of transition from dark to light by changing the pressure of my hand and spacing between lines. And this is the end result next to one from fine liner. And for the second section, I'm going to use the same method, this time adding different pen sizes. I start with bold pen at the edges, and while constantly increasing the spacing between lines, decrease the size of the pen until reaching to the center, which is the lightest part, and then reversing the whole procedure until reaching the other edge. And here is the final result beside one from FineLiner. To experience cross-hatching with ballpoint pen and Linex hatching ruler, I first draw a circle and then mark the layout of the shadows using these ellipse templates. Then, using the finest ballpoint pen, I do the first layer of hatches. And to do the shadows, I switch to bolder pen each time. And by constantly switching from fine to bold pen, each line is scribed. After doing the first layer of hatches, I change the angle of my tool about 15 degrees. And start the second layer of hatching using a finer pen size. And finish it using the same method of changing pressure and switching the pens. The horizon line is scribed using the French curve. And then, by using the straight hatches, first the light part is hatched, and then by changing the angle about 15 degrees, the dark side is hatched. Now it's my favorite pen's turn, which is Pelican Graphos. And there's a complete review of it in this channel. I put the link up, you can check it. But for the sake of recall, I just review how to post the nib again. There's 2 notches on the nib that should align with these 2 grooves on the body. Give it a gentle push and turn the pivot 90 degrees and that should do the job. I use the fit number 3 for better ink flow. And to make the ink running, just give it some gentle taps. Or simply use the ink bottle to crank the ink running. And we need to scotch tape a ruler to the tool to use its inking side. As the nib I have chosen is flexible, transferring the sense of transition from dark to light is achievable only by changing the pressure of my hand. I can press down or ease the pressure to achieve different line variations. And obviously mastering the control of hand pressure takes a bit more exercise. And after that, your hatches gain the characteristic and harmony you need to transfer the sense you're aiming for. And this is the final result beside the ones from FineLiner, Technical, and Ballpoint pen. For the next section, I first use a pencil to draw the initial idea. Then tape a French curve to the tool and set the spacing adjustments. I aim to resemble the leaves of tropical trees. The hatches are bolder at the center and get finer as approaching to the edges. And every now and then I try to break the monotony by changing the angle of hatches. And as you see, I only use 1 nib size. And that transition from dark to light is only achieved by changing the pressure of my hand. And as said before, it takes exercise to master the pressure of your hand. If you notice, the veins at the center of the leaves doesn't look precise enough. And if you're looking for more precision, you can use masking techniques or liquid frisket. But actually, I prefer it this way. For the last section, I'm going to use this rapidograph and the Graphos pen with type S size K nib. To make my drawing tidy, I use the rapidograph to draw the outlines of my design, which are going to be the feathers of a bird body. And the Graphos will be used to do the inner hatches. And always be ready to end up with grubby hands while using inking tools. Okay, now let's do the first layer of hatches. And please note that at the beginning I press down and relieve the pressure as approaching to the edges to produce finer lines and transfer the sense of transition from dark to light. And then for the second layer, I change the angle of hatching slightly, but follow the same procedure. And this is the final result of Graphos, Ballpoint pen, rapidograph, and FineLiner all beside each other for better comparison. Okay friends, many thanks for staying with me up until this moment. And please leave your comments here, as they are the only way of interaction between you and me. And there are also some other educational videos in my channel you might consider watching, about layering sets, proportional dividers, technical pens, bit pens, and plenty of other videos yet to come. So stay tuned, take care, and till the next video, goodbye.